Okay, no, it's not Halloween yet, but if you want to hear the horror story that is Ohio 70.3, stay tuned. What's up, everybody? This is Hayden with the Hill Pursuit Podcast. Welcome into the show. First of all, thanks for being here. If you haven't already, you can like this episode and listen to all other episodes wherever you stream your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Google, wherever you're getting your podcasts. Subscribe to the show, listen along, follow along with us. That way, if you are subscribed, you'll get updates every time we update the show with a new episode. But thank you for being here. You can also find us on all the socials. All of it's just at Hill Pursuit. And of course, you can reach out to me directly, hillpursuit@gmail.com. I do have a quick plug. If you're new to the show, this will be new information. If you're not new to the show, you know this is coming up in the near future. Anyways, we're recording this July 31, but in less than 1 month, on August 23rd, I'm also a race director for a 5K or 5-mile race in Allison Park. It's called Ruck Cancer, and the proceeds benefit the nonprofit that I and my family started called Lives Promise in honor of our daughter Olivia, who is now actually just over 1 year of being cancer-free. So all the proceeds to any and everything that the nonprofit is doing, Lives Promise, all those proceeds go towards families and children who are dealing with an early childhood cancer diagnosis. So we do things like provide meals at the Children's Hospital to two different floors, essentially, both the clinic and also the main floor, in terms of pediatric cancer patients and families who are dealing with that. So we'll provide meals to those people. Just recently, Lives Promise participated in the Relay for Life, local to where my family lives, but we raised, as of now, just under, but this will increase to just over $3,000 towards the American Cancer Society. And I actually also just learned that if you classify your team within Relay for Life, this is kind of just an aside, classify your team within the Relay for Life as like a gold team, then all the proceeds will go towards childhood cancer specifically. So that is what our mission is. That is the promise of Lives Promise. To do that and continue raising funds and awareness and resources for families and children who are dealing with early childhood cancer diagnoses. And guys, like, the honest truth of cancer is that it affects all of us. I mean, if you have family members, you probably know somebody who has cancer or maybe has passed from cancer. Prior to my daughter's diagnosis, I had a handful of family members myself, and so did my wife, who have dealt with and or who have, passed away from fighting cancer. So this is no joke, and it hit our family really, really hard. And we're kind of just, to be honest, we're just honored to be a part of, the fight against cancer, and any and everything we can do. We hope moves the needle in the right direction, or at the very least, just shines a little bit of light in the lives of families who are dealing with such an awful diagnosis and experience for a young child or anybody. But the race itself, Ruck Cancer, guys, it's a really fun time. It doesn't need to be the most serious 5K or 5-mile race you've ever run in your life. Last year, we had upwards of 175 or something like that total athletes, and that included a handful of virtual athletes. We probably had close to 150 athletes on site in Allison Park around the lake loop. in North Park, and it was just a great time. It really was. It was a great time. We have a ton of great sponsors, people who are close to me in my life, close to my wife and our family, sponsor the event. This year we'll have like raffles and like door prizes and baskets and packages donated by sponsors that you can win. Like, we have a lot of really cool things happening. It's a very family-friendly event. You can walk, you can jog, you can sprint this thing. It's also, you know, the nature of the name, Ruck Cancer. You can put a rucksack on as well, and that's an entirely separate division within each of those races, both the 5K and the 5-mile option. But if nothing else, I mean, just come out and hang out. You know, we're looking for volunteers, but we're also looking to just have a good day raising funds and raising resources and awareness in this fight that seems to be never ending. So if you have the availability, the date for Ruck Cancer is August 23rd. The start time is 9 a.m. and I will link the race website information into the show notes. So if you're listening, just kind of click out real quick, check out the details of the show. You'll see the sign up page and the race website in the show notes. Okay, let's start. There's a big breath here. Let's dive into, no pun intended, the race recap of Ohio 70.3 2025. I'm going to be completely honest. This feels like mainly a swim recap, but there were another 5 hours of the race that I did experience after the swim, so I will I'll recap the entire race, but I will certainly spend the most time recapping the swim, just based on the negative swim that I did experience for the first time in my life. So I'll rewind a little bit. The reason I love this race, and I still do love it, okay, I still do love it. The reason I love this race is it's kind of like a close to home race. My family has a lake house in Sandusky that we've been going to for, it's actually my wife's family, but we've been going together for 13, 14 years now. Every single summer, you know, multiple visits per summer, and we still are doing that even with all 4 of our kids. We've made a handful of trips already this summer. So it's a place that we love. It's a place we already have a lot of memories together as a family. Of course, as a young couple, me and my wife just kind of dating, I still went out there quite often, and it's just a lot of really positive memories, and it's a great place for our family. So I love the race. When it got announced, I was super excited a few years ago that it got announced in like our home, essentially our hometown at the lake. The lake house is literally like 20 minutes away from the start, but even though the lake house is 20 minutes away from the start, I'll highlight the first negative experience of this race. I did reserve an Airbnb for just the night before the race because, again, I have 4 kids, and sleeping through the night already, because I have a newborn, is already minimal, right? I'm already up a couple times a night, so thankfully I got the go-ahead from my wife to have the night before the race, to just kind of be on my own in this Airbnb, get as much good sleep and rest as I possibly could. So I got an Airbnb within walking distance. I show up to the Airbnb around 5 p.m., maybe 5:30, somewhere in there. No sign-in, no entry instructions from the owner, none. So I text the owner twice, no response. Call the owner twice, no response. Half hour goes by, I'm waiting. Decide to call Airbnb. They say, hey, give us 5 minutes, we're going to call the owner and get him over there to let you in. I say, okay, let's see if that works. So I hang up with Airbnb. 2 seconds later, I see who I believe to be the owner kind of like run up to the door. I was waiting in my car, not really looking at the door, so I didn't even notice to like hop out and talk to the person. But I see the owner run up to the door, unlock it quickly, go in, shut the door, and 1 minute later, my reservation was canceled. My Airbnb got canceled at the last second, the night I was trying to get into my Airbnb. At first, it threw me way off my game. It did. I'm going to be completely honest. It threw me way off my game. I was there with my father-in-law, and he kind of talked me off the ledge a little bit, and I kind of I tried to get over it quickly. And I'll be honest again and say it bothered me for about an hour, and I had to get over it quickly because I had to prep for the next day. I had to lay out all my stuff, prep my transition, goodies, the fueling, the water bottles, just go through logistics in my mind. If you've done any of these races, you know what I'm talking about. You can't just show up to this race, put your swimsuit on and hop in the water. There's a lot that goes into the triathlon, which, as an aside, I always say to my wife when I'm running a marathon, which I think and believe to be harder than a 70.3. I'll always say, this is so much crazier than a marathon. It's the prep for it, even though it doesn't beat your body up quite as much. Maybe there's some pushback there, but that's my opinion. I think the marathon just destroys your body if you go hard. I think if you go hard in a 70.3, it'll beat you up, but not as bad as the wear and tear of a marathon. That's a different podcast. Anyways, so there's just a lot of prep that goes into a 70.3. There's a lot. You have to plan out when you're eating stuff. How is stuff laid out in transition? Does everything fit on your bike? What are you grabbing in a plastic baggie to put into your swim kit or your tri kit? There's a lot of details. And again, maybe that's a separate podcast, which, as I'm saying it now and talking about it now, I probably should be, because that's a fun topic to discuss. But I got thrown off because I needed to prep for the next day. And now I had to go back home with all my 4 kids. I didn't even eat dinner yet because I packed my dinner. Couldn't get into my Airbnb, so I didn't eat dinner. Now I have to drive back with my father-in-law after already sitting there waiting and dealing with phone calls for roughly an hour. Now it's like 7:30. I don't know if that time frame lines up. Maybe I misspoke earlier. I get back to the lake house around 7:30. Start planning my stuff out. Realize I didn't eat my dinner yet, which is awful. So that messes with your timing of fueling strategies, right? But eventually, my wife again was great and pretty much managed the kids for most of the evening. I was able to pack my stuff up and get some decent rest. My wife handled the baby by herself completely over the night, which she does do sometimes, but 9 times out of 10, I'm getting up with her and helping her. That night I did not, which was super helpful again, to just kind of not have to wake up in the middle of the night for an hour, right? Because that's been my life for the last 2.5 months. But so I ended up being relatively rested. Show up to the race with my father-in-law. I'm over the Airbnb deal, and the water temp is listed at 76.8 degrees. So 76.1 is the cutoff for wetsuit legal. My hindsight tells me that I am a super stubborn person. This wetsuit optional event lended my brain to the conclusion of not wearing a wetsuit, so I left the wetsuit in the car. Again, hindsight, and I'll get into this, but left the wetsuit in the car, brought my swim skin. That's another mistake or negative thing working against me, because I don't swim in my swim skin. I don't swim in it. And I put it on and felt fine in it. Got in the water, also felt fine in it. But eventually I didn't feel fine, and then I attributed some of that fear and panic to the swim skin just feeling different than I'm used to. Whatever. Let me continue in terms of the chronological order of events here. So swim skin goes on, water temp 76.8. The other big, I think the big driver of registrations for this event is also that you jump off the ferry. And jumping off the ferry is a lot of fun. It's cool. But what's kind of weird is you're not wading into the water, so you can't feel the water temp until you jump off the ferry. The second, and again, I'm not in a wetsuit, remember this, so that I can start earlier in the day, not have to weed through a bunch of cyclists. I prefer to just kind of cycle independently, and rather than navigate weaving through experienced, inexperienced, fast, slow cyclists. So I don't wear the wetsuit. Maybe that's stubborn. Hindsight, I'd say it's stubborn. But swim skin is on. Water temp 76.8. Approaching the ferry. Touch the water for the first time. My first reaction, this is another, I don't even know how many I'm at this point. I think this is the third negative thing that happened, or negative event that led to a negative mindset, maybe, right? So Airbnb, no wetsuit, and then touch the water, right? So this is number 3, I guess. Touch the water, and I immediately feel like it's cold. And not that it's too cold, but that, again, this is my analytical brain. It's cold enough that I'm thinking in my head, why on earth is this not wetsuit legal? There's no way this water temp is 76.8. Now, again, they measure it at 4:30 in the morning. At this point, I think I started about 15, 20 minutes after the start, so it's like 6:45. So it's over 2 hours later. How would it get colder when the day is warming up? I don't know. I'm telling you, and I'm not the only one who said this, and I didn't even bring it up to the other people who did mention it. I'm not the only one who thought that water was cold. Okay? And again, not too cold that I was uncomfortable, but cold enough that it crossed my mind that this should be a wetsuit legal. And then I'm thinking about, well, I should have my wetsuit on. So that's going through my brain immediately, right? A couple different variables so far. Start swimming. The first turn of the course is roughly 500 meters, maybe 600 meters out, straight out. So I'm like, until you're out of the dock, it's like roughly 200 meters. So I swim the 200 meters. It's a couple minutes. I get out of the dock. I'm still feeling fine. We'll call this the fourth variable, and I'll be honest, I'm not even keeping track. I know that I just said the number 3. So the fourth thing that works against me, as soon as I'm out of the coverage of the dock where the ferry is docked, I just start guzzling Lake Erie water, guzzling it. It's like wave after wave crashing into my face. I had a couple breaths in a row that I just drank water, so I was gasping for air because I drank water, but then in gasping for air, I drank more water, and that's really just unlucky, potentially, right? So that happened to me as well. So then I'm like double and triple gasping for oxygen at this point, getting crushed by waves. And then what enters my mind is I'm like, how the heck is this, the start of this swim, so incredibly choppy? What is going on? So I'm trying to sight after these first 200 meters, roughly 250, maybe 300 meters in. Here's the fifth thing, right? It was a very low visibility morning. It wasn't like rainy or anything, but it was very overcast and it was low visibility. So you're trying to sight, you can't see that the waves are crashing into you. So when I say I'm like guzzling Lake Erie, I'm not joking. And you know, that call it inexperience, call it my own fault, and I completely am owning it. That's why I'm sharing this story with you. But that, you know, I had a few things at this point are messing with my brain, is the picture I'm trying to paint here. A few things at this point have messed with my brain substantially enough that I'm like panic is setting in, and again, I'm gasping for air after swallowing water on like 2 or 3 consecutive breaths or attempts to get oxygen. So that's working against me. I can't really sight super well, so now I'm at the point where I'm like scared, literally scared, and I've never felt scared in the water before, ever. And I'm like, I've never touched a kayak or a canoe before in my life either. I'm like, where the heck is this thing? I need it. I need it now. I don't just need it. I need it now. And keep in mind, like I said, I am 250 to 300 meters into this race. I can't even believe what's happening to me. And then it's like, it's not just happening, but it's happening immediately into a 6-hour day. And you better believe that that's messing with me mentally as well. The fact that it's even happening and I have to like work through this mentally when I've never experienced it before. And here we are, I'm 250 meters into this swim and I'm looking for a kayak. Okay, so I get up to the kayak, grab onto this kayak, gasping for life, literally gasping. And I'm just like in awe of what just happened. Eventually, I calmed down. God bless these kayakers and these volunteers for doing what they do. The most calm person in the world was this kayaker, and it was very comforting. I literally said, I have to stop. I have to stop. And she's like, all right, just grab on. Hey, what's your name? Where are you from? You know, all this small talk. And if you know me, I am not a small talker. I absolutely despise small talk, but I am small talking it up with this girl. And at this point, I'm like, literally, like my heart rate had to be so high. I knew I was going to spend minutes on this first kayak. Minutes. Somebody else grabs the kayak and he says, I've never touched a kayak before in my life. I've done 8 Ironman events. I looked at him and I looked at the kayaker and I said to him, this is my 10th Ironman branded event. 8 halves and 2 fulls. This is my 10th Ironman branded event, and I've never touched a kayak before in my life either. I'm like, dude, we're less than 300 meters into this race. We both have just grabbed a kayak for the first time in our lives, essentially. I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it. A couple minutes go by. Eventually, again, I'm still being an idiot at this point. So I'm looking at my watch like I should not be doing because clearly, like, my day is completely altered already. But I'm looking at my watch like a stubborn fool, and I'm thinking, I need to like get off this kayak because I need to like hit this time, or I got to get on my bike at this point, or now I have to swim harder to make up time, like an idiot, literally like an idiot. Okay, so this was another mistake. I get off the kayak, and within like 50 feet, I'm like, frick, here we go. I didn't recover enough. My heart rate is still super high. I'm getting bombarded by waves again this whole time, and I'll dive into this here. This whole time I'm thinking, like, why is it so stinking choppy? But I'm getting hit by waves again. I go to the next kayak. Literally, I go right to the next kayak. And I can't believe that I'm doing this. Never touched a kayak once in my life. I already touched 2 kayaks in less than 300 meters. And I'm, like, so fatigued. It's wild. I literally gave up the rest of my day. I'm like, dude, I got to survive this. I have to survive this swim. I'm thinking literally and figuratively at this point. I need to stay safe. I need to survive this swim. I need to put myself in a position where I can swim. I don't even know how much time I took on the second kayak. And I'll be completely honest, I think I maybe touched the 3rd kayak, so I might be remembering that this is the 3rd kayak I've touched, or maybe I've only touched 2. If I'm being completely honest, I don't remember all these details, and I'm not trying to block them out, but it was a really awful swim experience. I don't remember exactly, if I'm being completely honest. I touched at least 2 kayaks, maybe a 3rd. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, I'm on this kayak, whether it's the 2nd or 3rd, and this guy says, the same guy that was on the first kayak, he goes, well, I'll see you at the 3rd one. I'll see you at the next kayak or whatever. And this is the truth. This is what happened. I did go to a 3rd because I said, yeah, dude, you're probably right. I had to skip the next kayak because it was so packed. The next kayak was around 350 meters, was so full, there was nowhere for me to grab it. I was like trying to reach for it, and the person on the kayak waved me to go to the next one. There was no room. None. I couldn't believe that. Couldn't believe it. So I'm now swimming past the kayak to my 3rd kayak. Even saying this now, it makes me feel really disgusting and icky. But again, not that everybody should feel like that, but I had felt like that and kind of struggling to get through, like, dealing with the experience, to be honest. But so I'm on this kayak for the last time, and eventually I'm saying to myself, all right, dude, you got to figure out a way to like move forward in the water like an intelligent human. Maybe not like a fish, but at least like a human, like that knows how to swim, and not just swim, but swim well. So I finally just said to myself, I don't care how long I have to be on this kayak. I just need to get out of this water. I literally rested on, again, either the second or the third, probably the third kayak, as long as I had to feel any amount of like recovery and ability to swim. When I say I wasted or spent 20 plus minutes in the first 500 meters of this race, like recovering from all of these variables that happened, I'm not joking when I say 20 plus minutes. And that is crazy to me to even hear that any athlete spends 20 minutes recovering or resting or trying to regroup in the first 500 meters of a race. But that is what I did. I could not believe my eyes at my watch. I couldn't believe in my heart that this was happening. I was shook, completely shook. I kept checking my watch at that point, not because I needed to meet some time relative to the entire race. I kept checking my watch at that point because I needed to try to finish under the swim cutoff. I was at risk of not finishing the swim in an hour and 10 minutes when my previous worst swim in a 70.3 was 48 minutes. I swam in 104 and change, which technically is closer to my best full Ironman swim of like roughly 118, so 14 minutes, versus the proximity to my next worst 70.3 swim of 16 minutes. This 70.3 swim was closer in length to my full Ironman swim. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. It was crazy. So I don't think I have much else to say or comment on about the water. You know, I've had another part of conversation related to the water with another couple people, friends or athletes, where there definitely was a freighter or a very, very large ship that was coming through around the time that I entered the water. I've reflected on this. I'm not 100% sure the freighter is like the sixth thing that bothered me. But to say that the freighter went through and did not cause a lot of like current and white caps and waves would be ignorant. Like, this massive ship came through at some point while the swimmers were entering the water, and I was one of hundreds, right? I experienced, my experience in the water was impacted by this freighter, and along with a couple hundred other athletes, more than likely, right? Because if you got in early enough, you probably missed when this thing was going by. If you got in late enough, it was probably already gone and the current was probably died down. I don't know. That's why I say I don't know exactly how to feel about this freighter thing, but where else did these waves come from? They were ginormous, and this freighter was close enough proximity to the part of the swim that was not protected that like it impacted the swim, the chop of the water. 100%. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I get out of the swim. Now let's discuss the rest of the race if we can. All right, so we're out of the water. The second that I get out of the water, I'm exhausted, and I'll be honest, I feel a little relief, but not even a lot. I feel more like I don't feel accomplished. I feel like almost just, I don't even know how to describe how I feel out of the water. I think me stumbling over my words right now is literally how I feel about getting out of the water. I don't even know how I felt getting out of the water. I was like, okay, I have probably 5 more hours of racing. I really don't feel super excited to be doing this right now. I know that I don't have the energy to do this the way I want to do it. I lost all expectations that I had for the day, obviously, because I swam 25 minutes slower than I expected. And I lost so much energy, like, oh my gosh. So I was not happy. I was not excited. I was probably like angry, maybe a little embarrassed that my swim took so long, and I had very high expectations for the whole day. And you know, I was like, well, what? Like, I have this brand new bike, and I really wanted to go fast. I wanted to have a great bike split, and I felt like my run fitness was really solid. Like, I was expecting a very, like, a positive day. And I'll be honest, I didn't have a great day back in the Pittsburgh Marathon that I was not thrilled about. So I didn't want to have another one of those days, and it kind of just, like, brought that back, and I kind of felt like I wasn't going to have even, like, a half-decent day. Like, the day was over, it felt like, and I still had 5 hours to go. Like, it was a very strange feeling, but somewhere in me I knew, like, I could still learn from this experience, and I definitely have. But before I dive into that, I'll probably just continue with the rest of this recap. So, transition, I was not, like, trying to be super fast or anything. I knew I lost a lot of energy, so I was really focused on just making sure I had everything in place, making sure I had the supplements, the fueling that I needed for the bike in the right place. And I just was like, again, just kind of like mumble stumble, like poo-poo pouty pants through transition, which I'm not proud of poo-poo pouty pants. Or I'm sure there's a more professional term, but it almost felt like I lost, like a state championship or something, right? Like, I don't know, like it felt like I lost something, and I had to kind of like bring myself back and say, listen, dude, like, you still have 2 more disciplines of this race. You can learn a lot about how you can perform when things go poorly. So I was not excited at all, but I mustered up the energy a little bit that I had and hopped on the bike. I love my new bike. Let's dive into that. I love my new bike, and I love riding my bike out in Sandusky. I did not get the chance to ride the course prior to the race this year, but I have ridden this course like probably 20 times. So I'm very, very familiar with it. And the fact that I got my new bike and I felt really fast on the bike, I was really excited to put up a good bike split prior to the bad swim in the water. But anyways, I get on the bike and I start getting a little bit more comfortable. I knew I didn't have the energy to put up the bike split I had in mind. And another thing that's just hilarious, and I wasn't surprised, like 5 miles in, I realized my bike computer did not sync to my power pedals correctly. And it told me I was pushing out like 120 watts. And I was like, no. I'm not pushing 100. I was probably pushing like 180, 190. And like after the race was over, I looked back in my Garmin data. It said my normalized power was like 140. I was like, get out of here. Like, I'm sitting there working, and I know I didn't have like my best legs, but sitting there working, and it was just another thing that kind of ticked me off. Like, great, I can't even gauge my effort right now off of watts. So I'm trying my best off of heart rate and miles per hour. But miles per hour was a rough one on that day because it was windy. Now listen, I'm not complaining about the wind at all. I know this bike course is super windy. It wasn't even super windy. It was just windy. And this bike course is super flat. It's very, very flat. So you're going to experience wind almost in every single direction, literally. So I knew that it was going to be windy. But because it was windy and I didn't have legs, I was just like more annoyed on the bike. I kept getting more and more annoyed. I was like, when am I going to find a groove? I didn't find a groove at all. And I'll be honest, because I swam so incredibly slow and I got out with just minutes to spare, not a single, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this because it's objectively how my ride went. Not a single individual racer or athlete passed me on the bike. I just spent the entire 2 hours and 40 minutes or 42 minutes or whatever passing athletes, which you'll remember I said I did not want to do, which is why I did not swim in the wetsuit. Again, we'll circle back to that later, but I spent the entire ride navigating and passing other athletes. I'm going to fast forward here and say that did not bother me at all like I thought that it would in terms of my pre-race mentality for seating myself in the swim skin, like non-wetsuit heat. So again, that's another lesson learned, hindsight. But anyways, I'll jump back to that. The ride I felt relatively pleased with. I was not super close to my goal. My goal was like 2:32 to 2:35 overall time. I think I was like 2:44. So again, I left a lot of I left a lot out on the bike as well, and subsequently from the start of the day, again, first 10 minutes, 15 minutes of the day, I expended so much energy, I knew I wouldn't have my run legs exactly, but that was kind of a blessing because I got off the bike. I knew I wasn't going to be able to put up the run that I wanted to put up, so I ran very intuitively, literally not even caring about my pace. I ended up running a better half than I did in Happy Valley. Happy Valley was very hilly, so I take that with a grain of salt, but I ended up running like a consistent 9:55 per mile pace when I was literally expecting like 8:55 to 9:10, somewhere in there. So I was slower, but I didn't have to walk at all. I ran the whole thing, and I was relatively pleased with that. I finished the day in like 6:12, I think. I don't have it in front of me, and if you can't tell, I'm doing a car cast, so I'm not looking at my phone, but it was like 6:12 overall, something like that. When in reality, I was expecting roughly 45 minutes, maybe even 50 minutes faster in terms of an overall finish. Now, it is what it is. That was my last half iron for the year. I got to deal with that now, and that's going to sit in my brain and in my heart until next season. And it is what it is. And it's, as a coach and as an athlete, the best thing I can do is, and I encourage everybody to do this when they have rough days, of course, is learn from it. And I think I have learned from it. If, full disclosure, it's less than 2 weeks post-race. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I feel about it and exactly what I can learn from it. And, I'll take a moment now and say if you want to talk to me about it or get a little nugget of information that might help you down the line, or just kind of lend an ear or vice versa, just text me or message me if you want, because I have no shame. I think that's another word that I would use to describe how I felt immediately during the swim. But hindsight, 2 weeks later almost, I don't have shame in the experience. I might not feel happy about it, and I might be upset that it happened. But the truth is, that had never happened to me before. And I'm not glad it happened at all, but I'm glad that I have lessons to take from it. Not just for me, but for any other athletes I come in contact with, whether I'm coaching an athlete or whether they're just looking for a small piece of advice, or just empathy. I have the ability to empathize now with other people who've experienced this. And, I had a conversation with someone. This is wild to me, and it was a great analogy. I had a conversation with someone about a firefighter who was, a ladder fireman. I forget the exact definition or the exact term. For 20 plus years, gets a call to go out on a ladder and fight a fire. Gets halfway up the ladder and has a panic attack, which is what I would define as what I had in the water of this swim. Gets a panic attack 20 plus years into the profession, climbs down off the ladder and has to switch fire halls and professions to finish his career. That's how much it messed with him. And I'll be completely honest. No, I don't like hearing that story. I feel for that person. I'm not saying it's, oh man, that makes me feel so much better. No, not at all. The only silver lining in that story is that it just humanizes that firefighter. That's what it does. And I feel like, I have the ability to empathize with other people who have had this similar experience now and encourage those people and, of course, get the encouragement. That's also been important for me these last 2 weeks. I've had a lot of people reach out and just want to hear the story from me personally, and that's been very encouraging and helpful for me. So if that's you, I really do appreciate it, genuinely. But that's what this is for me. It was a learning moment. I call it a moment, call it 6 hours plus. It was a learning race. Not one I'm super happy about at all, but one that I have silver linings from, without a doubt. I can also tell you this. I'm a good swimmer. I'm no Michael Phelps. I'm not a fish. And in my opinion, for my swim level, this point in my life and career, I am someone who should wear the wetsuit. That is who I am. My good swim time is roughly 40 minutes for 70.3. If all of a sudden I start putting up like 32-minute swims, like maybe that's a different conversation in terms of wetsuit optional versus wetsuit legal. But that's the other like lesson learned for me is even if it's just one tiny variable, right? Wear the wetsuit, so what? You start back in the day, back farther in the line. If that tiny variable gives you even just a small sliver of added security, safety, or positive thinking about the race day, you should take it. And here's the thing. I've always encouraged and expressed the same to my athletes. Always. I've always done that. But my own pride kind of got in the way of this decision. And on paper, I'm not an athlete. Excuse me. On paper, I'm not an athlete that like here's the wetsuit optional and just immediately pitches the wetsuit. Like that shouldn't be me based on my swimming ability. So like I said, there's lessons learned from this. Some good for sure. A lot of bad that came with this day. A lot of negative thoughts that resulted from this race performance. But that's okay. Like I'm a big boy. I can deal with it. And I can suck it up and not be Mr. Pouty Pants, and that's the truth. Like nobody should like losing, and I kind of likened the feeling I had to losing a big game or something in a team sport. You shouldn't like losing, but you shouldn't let it like impact your mental health, and I think it did for the rest of that race. I'm not someone who has a like low mental health or has ever really dealt with that, so as soon as that race was over, like I started, call it the healing process, whatever. I started finding some of the good in that day. But yeah, it did. It messed with me a little bit during the rest of the race, and being a little pouty pants about it just does no good for anybody. And selfishly, does no good for you as the athlete if you're the pouty pants. So if you can't see me, I'm kind of smirking at myself every time I say pouty pants. But yeah, like let's not be pouty pants, okay? So that was another thing I learned is suck it up. Every single race is different. It might just be the temperature of the water. It might be the wind on the bike course. It might be the terrain on the run course versus the flat course that you raced a month ago. Every race is different. You can't have the exact same time goal for every single race. You can't go into a flat race and say, oh, this is going to be an easy race. This is going to be an easy race for me. No race is easy. Flat, hilly. You're going to have different finishing times. No race is an easy race. This was not an easy race for me. It was not an easy race. I am super, super happy for my Hill Pursuit and Victory Multisport athletes and friends who were also at Ohio 70.3, because so many of them had just such great days, and that was awesome to see. And like I saw victories, I saw happiness, and I saw warriors out there like fighting to finish this race, and it kind of jacked me up, if I'm being honest. After I finished the race and wasn't feeling great about it, I kind of got all jacked up seeing people out there battling. And there's also levels to this. You got to remember this. I said this to my father-in-law. This is kind of where I'll end things. He's walking with me with my bike back to the car. We had like a mile walk, which actually felt good after the race to kind of talk through some things with him. People were still out there grinding. People I did not know, I'd never seen before in my life. But people who only had like 20 to 30 minutes left in the whole day to finish under 8.5 hours. Maybe they had 45 minutes. I don't remember exactly, and that put it into perspective for me. I saw these people grinding, like, absolutely. The day got hotter if you were out there longer, like, absolutely grinding. And I'm saying to him, I said to my father-in-law, I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here crying. I wasn't actually crying. It was a metaphor, but I'm sitting here crying about a bad race that I had. These people are out here battling to finish what might be the best day of their lives. The best day of their lives. They cross that finish line, 1 minute to spare, 10 minutes to spare, whatever it is, 2+ hours after I finished. I can't sit here and be, like, mopey about it anymore. I can't. Like, so I kind of got over that. We'll go back to this funny phrase. I got over this little pouty pants thing pretty quick when I was walking back to my car and I saw athletes grinding to finish under the time allotment for the entirety of the 70.3. And that meant a lot to me. That, like, realization, that slap in the face, like, look, dude, you're no elite athlete here. And I'm not an elite athlete. I know I'm not. But there are levels to this. And you got people out here still who are fighting to finish this thing, and it might be the hardest thing they've ever done in their life. So quit moping around and just take the good that comes, take the bad that comes with it, and that's ultimately what I had to do. So if you've followed along this far, you got a pretty in-depth recap of Ohio 70.3 from me. If you're someone who raced it, I don't know anybody else. I don't know anybody who had a rough or a bad race. So congratulations, because it was a hard day. Crossing that finish line means a lot, whether it's a good day, a bad day. So congratulations to anyone who raced Ohio. It was not an easy day. Again, I don't think there's any such thing as an easy half Ironman. That's just me. Even if the conditions are perfect, there's nothing easy about 70+ miles. So congratulations to everyone on the finish. Again, thanks for listening if you've listened this far. If you have questions about any of this, you're trying to, like, get a small little nugget to help yourself, or you want to dive into one of these concepts a little bit more, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. If you're listening, you probably have my cell phone. Just text me. Otherwise, please reach out, hillpursuit@gmail.com, or you can message me directly on any social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, X, we have a YouTube channel, and LinkedIn. So you find us anywhere. And if you're hearing this and you need help with training for endurance sport or strength and conditioning, that's what I'm here for. I am here to help. I'm here to share experiences. I'm here to help you grow as an athlete. So don't hesitate. Reach out to me for fall preps. I am happy to help if I can. That's just hillpursuit@gmail.com. And I'd love to chat with you about getting something set up so that you can attack a start line and then ultimately reach the finish line that you have in mind. I think the only other thing I want to mention here is just the ruck race. If you stuck with me this far, I really appreciate it. But the ruck race coming up August 23, and the details, I'll give some more details moving forward, but details will be posted in the show notes here. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the encouragement. I'd like to offer the same to you. So again, reach out if you'd like to. But thanks for listening this long. This was the Ohio 70.3 2025 race recap. We'll see you next time. Have a very blessed